Have you ever wondered why you receive less Social Security than your friends, despite retiring at the same time with equivalent contributions? If you've worked in the public sector, as a public school teacher, police officer, firefighter, or federal employee, you're not alone with this question. For decades, millions of retirees like you have been affected by two special provisions in the Social Security system, WEP and GPO. However, 2025 marks a historic turning point. The U.S. Congress has just passed the Social Security Fairness Act of 2025, officially repealing these two controversial provisions, an action considered a long overdue but necessary correction after decades of petitioning and advocacy. And what's the result? Millions of retirees are beginning to receive retroactive payments of up to thousands of dollars, along with significantly adjusted monthly checks, not as a gift, but as income they should have received long ago. Please like and follow this channel to not miss important updates. In this video, I'll analyze information from official sources to help you understand what's happening, and, more importantly, how you can proactively protect your rights amid changes happening right now. What has really changed, and who benefits? If you've worked in community service sectors like public education, law enforcement, firefighting, or federal service, you're probably familiar with that sinking feeling when looking at your monthly Social Security benefit. Despite your contributions, despite having worked and received paychecks with SSA deductions, the final number was still much lower than expected. It wasn't because you filed incorrectly. It wasn't because the system forgot you. It's because you were in a special group affected by two provisions that existed for decades in the Social Security system, WEP and GPO. These were regulations established to adjust benefits for people with retirement income from two sources, one from the public sector and one from SSA. But in practice, their application caused many people to have their benefits disproportionately reduced, despite having made legal contributions just like any other worker. For many, that feeling wasn't just about money. It was a silent disadvantage, persisting year after year, where their efforts and service weren't fully reflected in the benefits they should have received. The good news is that this is changing. In January 2025, the U.S. Congress passed legislation called the Social Security Fairness Act. And, for the first time in decades, WEP and GPO have been officially repealed. What does this mean? It means that if you previously had reduced benefits because you were in the affected group, your benefits will be recalculated. If you spent time working in the public sector, but also contributed to SSA through another job, or are the spouse of someone who contributed to SSA, then you're likely in the group receiving adjusted benefits this time. The important thing is that you don't need to resubmit paperwork. The SSA has begun automatically recalculating for eligible cases. As of March 2025, the first retroactive payments have been distributed, compensating for benefits reduced since 2024, when the law first took effect. And since April, many people have seen their monthly checks increase significantly, better reflecting what they should have been receiving all along. This isn't a bonus, it's not short-term assistance either. This is money that belongs to you, a portion of your contributions that the system is now returning more fairly. For many, it's a delayed but deeply meaningful response. Because in a world where retirees often feel left behind, being properly recognized and treated fairly is what brings the most peace in the later years of life. Retroactive payment. How much will you receive and when? After the Social Security Fairness Act was passed and took effect in January 2024, the Social Security Administration, SSA, began the process of recalculating benefits for those affected by the two old provisions, WEP and GPO. However, it wasn't until March 2025 that the first funds were sent out in the form of retroactive payments. According to official reports from the SSA, more than $7.5 billion has been dispersed in just 1 month to approximately 1.1 million eligible people nationwide. On average, each person received about
$6,710.
Not a small amount, especially for those living on fixed incomes who have had to carefully budget every expense for many years. Notably, many people initially thought this was a surprise bonus or special assistance similar to COVID-19 relief. But the reality is completely different. This money represents delayed income, a portion that retirees should have been receiving for many months, even years, if WEP and GPO hadn't existed. Since the new law took effect at the beginning of 2024 but wasn't fully implemented until 2025, the period from January 2024 to March 2025 is the gap being compensated by retroactive payments. The story of James Holloway, a retired firefighter in Missouri, is a typical example. He served his community for 30 years and throughout his retirement always felt disadvantaged, not just financially, but in feeling undervalued by the system. When he received his retroactive payment of over $6,000, he didn't spend it all at once. He repaired his roof that had been damaged for 2 years because he couldn't afford repairs, and paid part of his wife's hospital bills. But what he emphasized most wasn't the money, but the feeling that I'm finally being properly recognized. That's what many people are feeling too. It's not winning the lottery, nor is it a bonus. It's a portion of fairness being restored, late, but not too late to make a difference in real life. Will the monthly check increase continue long-term? Since April 2025, many retirees across America have noticed an important change in their financial lives. Their monthly Social Security payment suddenly higher than usual. For many people, this brings both joy and surprise. But, unlike temporary support programs of the past, this adjustment doesn't come from short-term relief packages or cost of living adjustments, COLA. This is part of implementing the Social Security Fairness Act, the result of repealing 2 long-standing provisions that had reduced benefits for millions in the public sector, WEP and GPO. For many former teachers, firefighters, police officers, or government employees, their retirement checks never truly reflected what they had contributed. Although they had paid into the system, their benefits were cut because of old regulations designed in a different context. And when those regulations were repealed, the adjustment in April's check was a concrete step to recognize that. SSA pays benefits 1 month late, meaning the check you receive in April is actually for March benefits. The first month, the new law was fully applied in the payment system. This is why many people began to feel the change in April, rather than immediately after the law took effect. The average increase retirees are receiving ranges from $150 to $350 per month. For those who were heavily affected by WEP or GPO, the adjustment can be significantly higher. This provides a clear financial improvement, especially for those living on fixed incomes who must carefully calculate every daily expense. But what moves many people even more isn't just the money, but the feeling that their contributions are finally being clearly and officially acknowledged. This increase isn't short-term. It's a long-term, systematic change, meaning you'll continue to receive the adjusted check in subsequent months unless there are major policy changes or personal circumstances change. Those receiving increases or retroactive payments will also receive notification letters from SSA explaining these changes specifically. However, because many records need manual updates, the SSA indicates that the complete system adjustment process will finish in November 2025. During this time, if you haven't seen changes yet, it doesn't mean you've been forgotten, just that SSA needs more time for processing. For many elderly people, the additional monthly amount doesn't just help pay for electricity bills, medications, or food. It brings a sense of relief and greater certainty during a life stage that's already filled with concerns. But more deeply, this is an affirmation that their years of work weren't meaningless, and that the system, though slow, can still adjust to listen and correct what wasn't right. And sometimes that matters even more than money. What you need to do right now to not miss your benefits. After hearing about benefit increases or retroactive payments, many people will ask themselves, "Do I need to do anything to not be overlooked?" The answer, for most eligible beneficiaries, is that you don't need to do anything complicated. If you belong to the group eligible for benefit adjustments and your records are complete in the system, SSA will automatically process this for you. In fact, the recalculation process began in March 2025, and the first increases were delivered to recipients in April checks. If you've already seen an increased payment in your bank account, it means you've been updated. However, not everyone receives updates simultaneously. With more complex records, perhaps you've worked in multiple states, have income from both public and private sectors, or have changes in marital status or residence, SSA may need additional time for manual verification. According to official information, the entire update process is expected to be completed by November 2025. Therefore, if you haven't seen changes in your April or May check, don't worry too much. It doesn't mean you've been excluded, but simply that your record is in the processing queue. During this period, the most important thing is to maintain connection with SSA. Regularly monitor your personal account on SSA.gov. If you've never created a My Social Security account, this is a very appropriate time to start. This account helps you check benefit information, track payment history, receive personal notifications, and especially be alerted if SSA needs additional information from you. For many elderly people unfamiliar with computers or the internet, such monitoring may not be easy. If you have relatives, friends, or neighbors in this group, help them check their accounts or simply read carefully any paper letters sent from SSA. Many people miss out on benefits not because they're ineligible, but because they don't know when information was sent to them. Preparation at this time isn't just about checking whether you've received money yet. It's also about understanding what you're entitled to, how to monitor so your benefits aren't interrupted, and how to help others, especially those with limited access to information, not be left behind. In a large system like SSA, sometimes waiting is unavoidable. But being proactive and calm is the best way to ensure you don't miss what should rightfully be yours. The changes taking place may bring hope, but also come with concerns if we don't clearly understand the information. The important thing is that you don't have to go through these transitions alone. This channel will continue to accompany you on the journey of updating, analyzing, and clearly explaining policies directly affecting retirees, benefit recipients, and those living on fixed incomes. If you found this content helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to always be the first to receive reliable and easy-to-understand information. See you in the next video.